Hi friends, it's time to read a book again. And as long as we've had this book, which has been a few years, I've never even read this book. I don't know why, just never did. But it's called Miss Renee's Mice. Miss Renee lived in a big house by the ocean. The big house was filled with little houses, and the little houses were filled with furniture and other beautiful things. Miss Renee made furniture herself out of maple and pine from the Maine woods. She made curtains and pillows and bedspreads out of the best calico she could find. She made a lot of other things too, beautiful rugs and cups and plates and teapots and electrical lamps that really worked. Miss Renee filled the bookcases with miniature books that she printed on a miniature printing press. She decorated each room with thimble-sized vases and full of pink and red and yellow tulips that she made herself from dainty bits of colored paper. Practically anything that a little house needed to be perfect, Miss Renee knew how to make. When she was all done with a new house and feeling quite pleased with herself, she bought plastic dolls and sat them in the chairs. The dolls were dull and didn't do anything, but she thought the house looked very empty without them. One night there was a terrible storm with ice and snow and sleet and wind. And boom! It blew down Miss Renee's barn. The barn had been filled with mice, but not anymore. The mice moved into the big house. Then they moved into the little houses. The mice pitched the dolls out the window and sat on the chairs. They slept in the beds, and they switched the lights on and off, and they pulled the books down from the shelves and read them. They helped themselves to Miss Renee's food in her pantry, and they even found the secret drawer where she kept her chocolate. The mice dressed up in dolls' clothes and had wild parties. What a mess! What a noise! It was unbelievable. Miss Renee's striped cat was too lazy to chase the mice away. Miss Renee fretted about what to do. Night after night she laid awake, drumming her fingers on the pillows, until she had a plan. She sawed and whittled and hammered and nailed, and she sanded and painted and varnished. She stitched and sewed and sewed and stitched on her midget sewing machine and whistled an old sea shanty while she worked. Finally, she was done. It was a small ship. It was big enough to hold every last mouse, and Miss Renée printed up tiny tickets and passed them out. "Where are we going?" asked the mice. "Around the world," Miss Renée said, giving the boat a shove. "Goodbye." Miss Renée began sweeping up after the mice. At last, her big house and all her little houses were tidy and quiet again. Maybe too quiet. Without the mice, Miss Renée had trouble falling asleep at night. Much to her surprise, she missed their squeaky singing and pittery-pattery dancing. She missed the happy party sounds. Each morning she went back to work, making pine furniture and calico curtains and other beautiful things. But they didn't seem so beautiful anymore. It was sad to think that no one would be sleeping in her little beds or switching on and off the lights and reading the little miniature books. No one would serve tea in her teapots or admire her pretty vases of tulips. No one would roll up her little braided rugs and dance a jig. Miss Renée felt glum. She let out a long sigh, and she busied herself with work and tried not to think about the mice. Weeks passed and then months. By the time whole seasons had passed, bringing autumn leaves and snowflakes and wildflowers, Miss Renée had almost forgotten about the mice, until one day she looked out the window and saw a ship. At first she thought it was a big ship from far away, but then it was a small ship, very close up. She ran down to the ocean to meet it. "Where have you been?" she cried. "Around the world, of course," said the mice, as they began to unload their cargo. They brought back rosewood from Bolivia and tulips from Burma. They also had brought mahogany from Honduras and hornbeam from Iran and bamboo from China. There was silky oak from Australia and kauai wood from Hawaii and teak from Cameroon and zebra wood from Zimbabwe. The mice had brought fabric too, tweed from England and tartan from Scotland and lace and linen from Ireland. There was brocade from Belgium and velvet and satin from France and batik from Java and kente cloth from Gahan and madras from India and brilliant woven cotton from Guatemala. Miss Renée cannot pronounce all those words. As if that weren't enough, they had also brought rice paper from Japan and marble from Italy and yak's wool from Tibet. And last but not least, a box of Turkish taffy and an enormous chocolate bar from Switzerland. Miss Renée looked at the mice. She looked at all the beautiful things that they had brought her from all over the world. "Welcome home, mice," she said. that was the end. I really liked that book. I'm surprised we never read it. But I'm glad we read it now. Goodbye, friends. See you next time.